Welcome to The Deep Dive. This is a Prime AI podcast brought to you by the folks at Silicon and Silk.
Great to be here.
You know that feeling when you're shopping for clothes online. You find something perfect, love the look, the color, but then you hit the size options and you just kind of freeze. That question's always there. Will this actually fit me?
Yeah, and that whole fit anxiety thing, it's just, it's killing e-commerce margins big time. Customers hesitate or they, buy multiple sizes just to try them on at home or guess wrong and the returns pile up. We're talking, 40%, maybe even 50% for tricky stuff like swimwear. It's not just annoying, it's this huge cost logistics, processing, repackaging, just eats into everything. So our goal today is pretty clear. We've been looking through the compiled research you sent over, and we want to examine the solution retailers are really pinning hopes on. AI sizing tools. They seem to be growing fast.
That's right. And we're talking way beyond those old static size charts that, let's be honest, never really work that well. These are machine learning systems. They're built to predict the customer's best size, not just a size. And it's tailored to the specific garment they're looking at right then. So what we want for you is to really understand what's going on inside these systems, how they actually work. And, maybe more importantly, how you can tell the difference between a tool that genuinely maps and saves money versus, something that just looks good but doesn't do much, a sort of shallow checkbox. What's fascinating here is how these systems are learning and adapting in real time to solve this billion-dollar fit problem.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When I, as a shopper, land on a product page, what am I actually seeing? What's the interface? Because the key seems to be making it easy, right?
Absolutely. It has to be seamless, otherwise people just won't use it. The analysis we reviewed shows, basically two main ways it shows up. First, there's the initial data gathering bit, usually a really short, simple quiz. Might ask for height, weight, maybe how you like things to fit tight, loose, or maybe what size you wear in a brand you already own.
Okay, so just the basics to get started.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
Then it gives you the size recommendation. Often it adds a little extra guidance too, maybe a visual warning. Like it might suggest a medium, but add, hey, based on the specific design, it might feel a bit tight in the shoulders. But the really powerful part is what comes next after that first time. For returning visitors, you start seeing automated size suggestions. That's the zero quiz experience. And that's huge for getting people to buy because it removes that initial hesitation completely.
So it's not just about the quiz or the visuals. It's really about how intelligently it uses real world results to get smarter over time.
That's exactly the crux of it. Yeah. If a retailer puts one of these tools in place, but it doesn't actually learn from what happens next, did the customer keep the item? That's a win. Did they return it? Why? If it doesn't learn from that feedback, then you haven't really solved the underlying cost problem. The stakes are really high. Success means turning those doubtful browsers into buyers who feel confident clicking add to cart.
Right. And when we look under the hood, it's not magic, is it? It's all about data and algorithms. The information we went through breaks down how the logic works into, 5 main technical approaches. Starts simple and gets more complex.
Yeah, exactly. We start at the baseline, the sort of entry-level method. That's quiz-based estimation combined with clustering. So it takes your basic answers, height, weight, maybe body shape you selected, and then it puts you into a statistical group, a cluster, with other people who gave similar answers.
Like grouping me with other tall and slim guys, maybe.
Pretty much, yeah. Then it looks at that cluster and says, okay, what size worked best for most people in this group? It's like saying, okay, you're in the average Jane bucket. What size did Jane usually keep? It's simpler for the retailer to set up initially. But the downside is it's less accurate. It struggles with subtle differences between products and doesn't adapt much. Think of it as version 1.0.
Okay, so that's the basic level.
Yeah.
How do these systems move beyond those static buckets and actually start learning?
Right. That brings us to the second approach, which is arguably the most important one these days. That's using behavior and returns feedback loops. This is where the AI really starts digging into the retailer's own sales data, your transaction history. When a shopper keeps something you recommended, great positive signal. When they send it back, especially if they say, why too small, too tight in the arms, that gets fed straight back into the model. Negative reinforcement.
So they're essentially turning that costly return into valuable data for refining the system. Clever.
Precisely. They track how quickly it was returned, the reason given, and they connect that back to the initial quiz answers or profile data. A good system is constantly running this analysis, using that returns history to make better predictions for the next customer who looks similar.
But hang on, doesn't that still assume that every single item labeled medium fits exactly the same way? That feels like a big potential problem, especially in fashion where one brand's medium is another's large, or even different fabrics change the fit.
You've absolutely nailed the critical next step. That's approach number 3, product level calibration. Any tool that misses this level of detail, this granularity, is probably going to struggle with complex inventory. This method makes sure the system does not just assume all SKU stock keeping units have the same sizing rules. Think about it. A retailer might have a really structured denim jacket and also a loose, stretchy knit cardigan. Both might be labeled medium, but they fit completely differently, right? A sophisticated tool has to be able to treat them differently. Different product lines, different fabric batches, maybe even different colors if they were made differently. This capability is often what separates a truly high-end tool from just a basic calculator.
That makes total sense. I know from experience, sometimes the exact same shirt in black fits differently than it does in blue, maybe because of the dye process. The AI needs to spot that kind of deviation.
Exactly. It needs that level of detail. Then, the fourth key method is the one we touched on for making things easier for the shopper. Zero input or predictive sizing. Once you've used the tool, bought something, maybe returned something, the AI has a baseline. It often has enough data to automatically predict your size the next time you visit the site. Sometimes it can do this even if you're not logged in using things like cookies or browser data. It just pops up the suggestion.
Okay, that sounds great for making sales smoother.
Yeah.
But let me push back a bit there. Is there a risk in relying only on past purchases? What if I bought something for someone else? Or, more likely, what if my body shape has changed? Maybe I lost or gained weight since my last order 6 months ago. How do these systems stop using old, stale data?
That's a really valid concern. And the smarter systems handle this by weighting the data. Recent activity, recent purchases or returns, they count for more than older history. Plus, they don't just look at your history in isolation. They compare it to the overall behavior of people in your cluster. If suddenly everyone similar to you starts buying a different size in a certain item, the AI might adjust your prediction, or maybe prompt you with a super quick check, still wear the same size. Just to confirm, it's about managing that risk within the model.
Got it. Okay, and then there's the fifth approach, the one that sounds most futuristic, but maybe isn't used as much.
Yeah, that's approach 5. Optional hybrid vision or photo methods. This is where you get into body scanning tech or asking the user to take a couple of photos of themselves. Standing in specific poses so the AI can estimate measurements more precisely. The findings suggest that while this could offer the highest accuracy, the adoption rate tends to be lower. There's more friction for the user, privacy concerns definitely come up, and honestly, getting reliable image processing integrated smoothly is technically challenging. So just to wrap up this section on how they work, a really effective high-end AI sizing tool needs to blend these things. It should combine that initial quiz logic with ongoing real outcome learning from returns, apply really careful speak-you calibration for different products, and offer that seamless zero-input experience for returning customers. That's the combo that delivers reliable, low-friction results consistently.
Okay, so we know the different ways these tools can work. Let's pivot now to actually using them. What does this mean for a retailer who's thinking about implementing one? Or maybe evaluating the one they already have? You've got to watch out for the common problems, right? Because clearly, not all tools manage that ideal combination you just described. The information we look through flags 5 pretty serious shortcomings that can really limit how effective a tool is, stopping it from actually solving that core returns problem.
Yeah, the first big one to watch out for is low influencer coverage. This is basically asking, how many of your actual sales does this tool even touch? Some tools might only work for brand new visitors, people who've never shopped before, or they might only be active on a tiny fraction of your products, maybe the less complicated ones. If the tool is only influencing, say, 20 or 30% of your total orders, it's just not going to make a dent in your overall metrics. You won't see that big conversion lift or returns reduction you were hoping for. It ends up being just a minor feature, not a core solution.
And then there's the one that seems like an immediate deal breaker based on what you said earlier. Rigid logic.
Yeah.
Basically ignoring that product level calibration.
Exactly. If a vendor tries to tell you their system uses the exact same size recommendation logic for like a super stretchy t-shirt as it does for a structured blazer from a totally different brand, That's rigid logic in action. It completely misses those crucial fit differences between items that are the main reason customers get frustrated and send things back.
And fundamentally, if there's a lack of learning, you're not really using AI, are you?
Not in a meaningful way, no. If the tool isn't constantly taking in your sales and returns data, learning from it and getting better over time, it's just a fancy static calculator. It won't adapt. Your investment won't deliver ongoing value because the returns rate will likely stay stubbornly high.
We also see friction pop up again as a weakness, even after someone's used the tool. Making people enter their details over and over again, friction for returning users just seems counterproductive.
Totally. It defeats the purpose of collecting customer data in the first place. And it really annoys your most loyal, valuable customers. The final, really critical weakness gets into the operational side: data ownership, lock-in, and data limitations. This is huge. If a vendor won't let you easily export the shopper, it inputs all that valuable data about sizes, preferences, body shapes. Or if they make it hard or impossible to push that data into your own systems, like your customer relationship management platform.
Your CRM, yeah, or your email marketing tools, your personalization engine.
Yes, all of that. If you can't integrate that data, you lose control. You can't use that insight across the rest of your business. The sizing tool becomes this isolated data silo, which severely limits its strategic value in the long run.
So connecting all this back, the evaluation criteria laid out in the research really form a kind of checklist, don't they? A practical way for you, the listener, to figure out if a vendor is offering a robust solution or just that shallow checkbox thing.
They absolutely do. When you're talking to vendors, you need clear, quantitative answers. First, nail down the prediction coverage. Can they confidently tell you, based on your data, that their tool will influence a significant chunk of your orders? You're looking for something like 50, ideally up to 80%, to actually shift your main business metrics.
Second, really probe on granularity and SKU logic. Do they explicitly say, yes, we adapt our predictions for different SKUs, different colors, different fit types? If they get vague here, that's a red flag. They might lack that crucial product-level calibration needed for fashion.
Third, dig into the learning and feedback loop. This connects back to the lack of learning weakness. Ask them to show you how they ingest returns and sales data. Can they demonstrate improvement over time? And related to friction, confirm they have documented zero input capability so your returning customers get that smooth experience.
And fourth, data ownership. Be really clear about data export and integration. You need confirmation that you own your customer data, you can get it out easily, and you could push it to your CRM and other platforms. Full transparency and control.
Then the last point, which is maybe the most revealing, is transparency metrics. Can the vendor show you concrete numbers on how many users actually followed their size recommendations? And crucially, what were the return rates specifically for those customers, the ones who took the AI's advice? If a vendor struggles to answer those 5 key questions clearly and confidently, the research strongly suggests you're likely looking at a fairly basic, probably less effective tool.
Which brings us right back around, doesn't it? The real success of these AI sizing systems comes down to 2 things. Their ability to learn at that super detailed, granular level, SKU, color, fit variation. And at the same time, their ability to make life easier for returning shoppers through that automatic zero-input prediction. So the key thing for you to take away is AI sizing isn't just a simple calculator anymore. It's meant to be this constantly learning, adaptive feedback loop. And for it to really work, it needs to be plugged into the retailer's whole data ecosystem to genuinely improve those bottom line margins.
Exactly. And that actually leads to one final, maybe provocative thought. Building on that idea of data ownership and all the insights being gathered. Think about it. If these really good systems are collecting such incredibly detailed data, not just on individuals, but in aggregate about customer body shapes, their fit preferences, which sizes work for which styles, which ones always get returned, you end up with this massive virtual model of your entire customer base's physical dimensions and tastes. So the question becomes, 5 years from now, how might that incredibly rich data change things beyond just sizing recommendations? Could it fundamentally reshape fashion design itself, product development, how inventory is forecasted and produced? It really raises this interesting point about the potential convergence of predicting fit and actually producing clothes designed to fit better from the start, something to think about.